A very good morning to you, Naledi, and to our viewers at home. Today marking indeed day one of that Brics block. This is the Labour a Decent Work Group formation that have gathered here in Johannesburg. You can remember that this year South Africa has assumed the presidency of the Brics block, taking over from China, and this that is happening here today forms part of that process where issues of labour come under the spotlight from the from the Brics block, working with other streams and other nations that have been invited to form part of this. Chief to this is just creating a decent employment and just decent work streams that would ensure that all the countries that form part of the Brics formation are not left behind where issues of decent work are concerned. South Africa is the chair this year, and it's supposed to ensure that in this 4 days all of those issues from member Brics countries come under the spotlight, and this is where they'll be taking stock, Naledi, taking stock, looking at what has happened over a COVID-19 pandemic that has globally affected a whole lot of these nations that are gathered here, and they'll be trying to pick up the pieces and try come up with ideas in terms of how the labor force from one country to the next can be protected and be agile in meeting the needs of its citizens. I'm going to bring into the conversation now Mr. Siyabonga Hadebe, who's coming through from the Department of Labour. He is, of course, an chair, and he'll let us in really on what we can expect further from this grouping here, this gathering. We are seeing that member countries have already gathered here, but just give us a sense of what we can expect in this coming 4 days.
Okay. Thank you, Katlego. Good morning to the viewers at home. This morning, of course, we are starting with our proceedings for the meeting that is going to take place over the next 4 days. The meeting basically will look at two main issues. One is productivity, innovation, and creating sustainable enterprises. Why is this important? It's because we as South Africa, we struggle from low growth, high unemployment, and of course we are not generating as many industries as we should. So this is one area that we are trying to look at. How can we do more for less? That's how productivity works. But we of course link this with decent work to say, now that takes me to the second point on worker rights, to say that a happy worker is a productive worker. So we are also going to be looking at the issues of worker rights, fundamental principles of work, which means that we need to make sure that people are paid decent wages, people are working in safe environments, people are free from harassment, and so on and so forth. But we are doing this while we are all rushing to get our economies back into speed after COVID. But the problem is that we've got a number of crises that are already happening now. So we are dealing with quite a number of economic challenges globally as well as locally, including load shedding. So it's important that we deal with these issues at once, because they affect the labor market, they affect the workers, and when the workers are affected, it means that we affect their livelihood at home. So you know, when somebody doesn't work at home, it affects everybody. So we as the labor sector, we are looking at such issues.
Here at home, I mean, we've seen unprecedented high levels of unemployment. The rate is just skyrocketing year in, year out. We see those labor numbers coming out, and they're not impressive at all. We're expecting to see solutions in terms of the creation of future jobs being discussed here in this 4 days from all of those Brics member states.
Yes, that's correct, Katlego. The issue of unemployment, and especially unemployment amongst youth, is a particular concern to the government and everybody concerned. Of course, these four and others, it's just not limited to this one. This is where we are looking at finding solutions, working with other partners, particularly our Brics partners, because a country like China has seen phenomenal growth in the past few years, and they've done very well in order to lift thousands of their people out of poverty, if not millions, in the past few years. So we would like to learn from them, how did they do this? And if, of course, we are engaging in other streams, as you mentioned in your introduction. We have trade, we've got finance, we've got other streams that are also looking at this particular issue, but we are looking at the labor market governance. Of course, we are going to be dealing with such issues. When we talk together, we are going to be looking at these issues. How can we create these industries? How can we make them sustainable? How can we make sure that we are productive enough in order to get to the level that we desire? You know that we require extremely high growth in order to deal with these high levels of unemployment, poverty, and other socioeconomic challenges in this country.
Thank you very much for your time, and all the best for the coming 4 days. This is where, of course, Naledi, members of the Brics formation have gathered here in their numbers. We're hearing that Eswatini has also been invited to form part of this. Zimbabwe as well has been invited to form part of this. This is where we're going to be seeing, of course, the MEC as well for economic development here in Gauteng form part of these proceedings here. Of course, officials as well from the Department of Employment and Labour will also form part of this. I'm going to step out of shot for Thulo to show you what is happening behind me. This is where you can see that delegates have gathered in their numbers from the Brics formation. The event is going to start any moment from now. We have dignitaries as well from government that have formed part of this, as well as business formations. They're going to be discussing solutions and coming through with ideas in terms of how we can bridge the gap and create those well-needed jobs right now. You know that it's a hot potato and an elephant in the room right now, the issue of the creation of jobs. And as many look forward to the finance minister's speech tomorrow, they're looking for him to also give expression to the need for the creation of jobs here at home. Naledi?